Good afternoon. This is the Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing for Thursday, January the 2nd, 2025. This is the first briefing of 2025, and it will be valid through Tuesday, January the 7th. The briefing's been prepared by the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch at the National Hurricane Center. So a quick summary of the hazards during this forecast period. Right now in the Western Atlantic, there's an active gale warning. The gale warning will begin early Saturday, and it's expected to be relatively short-lived, ending on late Saturday, with gale force winds primarily north of 26 north in the Western Atlantic. Although you will see in the forecast period there is some chance of gale force winds later in the period as well. Secondly, there are two significant swell events in the Atlantic that we're expecting this period. One is ongoing right now in the eastern subtropical Atlantic, where we have seas greater than 12 feet that we are expecting will subside by Saturday. The second significant swell event will begin this weekend, beginning in the western and Atlantic, associated with a cold front coming off the east coast of the U.S., and it will progress into the central Atlantic into next week with a large and growing area of 12-foot seas. So in terms of the current setup, you'll notice in the Western Atlantic, we have this cold front that's draping to the southwest into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. This cold front is not associated at present with any significant hazards, and we are expecting the front to dissipate in the next day or so. However, in the central and eastern Atlantic, there's a low pressure system north of our waters. It's an occluded low pressure system with a cold front that's draped to the southwest. And this cold front is associated with a large area of 12-foot seas that we're expecting to subside over the next several days. Moving into the forecast, this forecast is valid Friday, January the 3rd. And you'll see in the northern portion of our waters, we have this developing gale. And this is a gale that is associated with a developing low pressure system to the north of our waters in advance of a cold front that we expect to progress to the southeast over the next few days. In terms of waves, you can see that the area of 8-foot waves and higher associated with that low pressure system to the north are still above 12 feet in some areas, although they are beginning to subside. Moving into Saturday, you can see that the gale warning is now active. There's a large area of gale force winds, mostly to the north of our area, but included in our area associated with this cold front that has moved off the east coast of the U.S. And in the Caribbean, we also have an area of strong winds south of Cuba and to the east of the Yucatan. In terms of waves, you can see associated with this cold front, the seas are beginning to build, and we do have a large area of 8-foot seas in the northern portions of our waters. And further to the east, you can see that the seas have begun to subside as high pressure is building in to the central Atlantic. Moving to Sunday, you can see that the cold front has progressed to the east. The gale force winds have diminished, but there remains a large area of fresh to strong winds in the west central Atlantic. And associated with that progression of the cold front, you can see the area of 8-foot and greater waves has increased in size, and we are expecting waves potentially up to 17 feet or higher associated with this system. And then if you look in the Caribbean, you can see continuing fresh to strong winds. And further, if you look at the western Gulf of Mexico, you can see this southerly return flow associated with a developing low pressure system over the south central U.S. Moving into Monday, this low pressure system that I mentioned in the south central U.S. Has moved to the east, and you can see the indications of a cold front where we have northerly flow behind the cold front with fresh to strong winds, and southwesterly flow in advance of the cold front with fresh to strong and even potentially gale force winds in our area during this period. Associated with that cold front passage, seas begin to build in the northern Gulf, and also build in advance of the cold front off of the northern Florida coast and the Carolinas. Finally, moving to Tuesday, January the 7th, this second cold front has continued to progress south almost through the entire Gulf of Mexico and out into the west central Atlantic. And associated with that, you can see a large area of fresh to strong winds associated with that cold front. And in terms of the seas, you can see a very large area of 8-foot and greater waves, pretty much through the entire extent of our northern waters. So with that, I will conclude the first Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing of 2025. The next briefing will occur on Sunday, January the 5th, and it will be released by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stay safe, everyone.